The bustling corridors of Lagos University Teaching Hospital (LUTH) were a symphony of organized chaos, the constant beep of monitors, the hurried footsteps of nurses, and the humid Lagos air thick with the scent of antiseptic. At the center of it all was Dr. Segun Adebayo, a brilliant cardiothoracic surgeon known for his steady hands and a heart that he'd strictly reserved for his patients. Across town, in a sleek office in Ikoyi, Amaka Akeke was filing her latest motion. A rising star in medical malpractice law, she was sharp, relentless, and possessed a no-nonsense, Igbo grit that made senior advocates nervous. Their worlds were about to collide over a botched surgery and a heavy dose of destiny. The conflict, case No. 204. The trouble started when Amaka's aunt, Mama Shindu, suffered a minor complication following a procedure at LUTH. While the medical team insisted it was a known risk, Amaka saw it as negligence. She didn't just want an apology, she wanted accountability. When Amaka marched into Segun's office to serve the pre-action notice, the air practically crackled. Amaka, drive. Adebayo, I assume your hospital thinks they can hide behind medical jargon, but I'm here to ensure you pay for my aunt's suffering. Segun, removing his glasses, weary from a 12-hour shift, counselor, I assure you, we did everything by the book. Medicine isn't a math equation, there are variables. But I see you've already decided I'm the villain. For weeks, they traded icy emails and heated depositions. Amaka was a firestorm of legal precedents, and Segun was a fortress of scientific facts. The turning point, the settlement. The tension peaked during a late-night mediation session at a quiet bistro in Victoria Island. The hospital's legal team had authorized Segun to negotiate a settlement to avoid a PR nightmare. As the rain lashed against the windows, the kind of Lagos rain that stops everything, the two found themselves alone at the table. You know, Segun said, closing the thick file. I stayed up 3 nights straight monitoring your aunt. I wasn't protecting the hospital, I was protecting her. I'm a doctor because I want to save people, not because I want to be sued by terrifying lawyers. Amaka softened. She looked at the dark circles under his eyes and realized this wasn't a cold corporation, it was a man doing his best. They reached an agreement. The hospital would cover the full rehabilitation costs and implement new safety protocols, and the lawsuit would be dropped. From courtrooms to cravings, with the case settled, the professional barrier vanished, leaving behind a curious attraction. It started with a "thank you" text, which turned into a debate about whether jollof rice was better from Lagos or Enugu. The first date, Segun took her to a hidden spot in Lekki for suya and live jazz. Away from the hospital scrubs and power suits, they discovered they were both last-borns who felt the weight of family expectations. The cultural bridge, Segun, the sophisticated Yoruba doctor, found himself learning basic Igbo phrases to impress Amaka's father, while Amaka learned to navigate the complex etiquette of a Yoruba traditional wedding when Segun took her as his +1. The Lagos romance, the dating life was a montage of Lagos magic, walks on Tarkwa Bay, dodging agberos in traffic, and late-night calls where Segun would explain the mechanics of the heart while Amaka explained the nuances of the Constitution. The proposal. A year later, on the helipad of a building overlooking the Third Mainland Bridge, Segun didn't bring a stethoscope or a legal brief. He brought a diamond. Amaka, he said, his voice steady for the first time in her presence. You sued me for everything I had, but you ended up taking the only thing I didn't want to lose, my heart. I don't want to settle out of court anymore. I want to settle down with you. With a laugh that echoed over the Lagos lagoon, Amaka replied, I'll have to review the terms and conditions, doctor, but I think I'll accept this proposal. The road to I do for Segun and Amaka was less of a smooth highway and more like a Lagos pothole-ridden street during rainy season. Before the diamonds and the vows, there was the Great Wall of Tradition. The pre-acceptance clash, a tale of two tribes. The tension began at the first introductory meetings. Segun's mother, Mummy Shegan, was a retired matron from a prominent Ondo family, a woman whose head tie, Gelly, was always angled like a satellite dish. Amaka's mother, Mama Amaka, was a powerhouse from Anambra who believed that if a man didn't pay a meaningful bride price, he didn't truly value the woman. The Yoruba perspective: respect is currency. Mummy Shegan was horrified when, during an informal visit, Amaka greeted her with a polite, "Good afternoon, ma," and a slight bow. "In my house," Mummy Shegan whispered loudly to her sisters, her daughter-in-law-to-be melts into the floor. "This one stands tall like she is the one paying the bills. These Igbo girls, they are too headstrong." The Igbo perspective: the long list. Meanwhile, in the East, Amaka's uncles presented Shegan with the list. It wasn't just a list, it was a manifesto. It requested everything from high-grade Hollandaise wrappers to a literal cow. "Doctor," Amaka's eldest uncle said, chewing on a cola nut, "you are taking a diamond from our family. A doctor's salary in Lagos is good, but is it, Anambra bride price, good? We need to know our daughter won't be eating amala and you do every day without a piece of dried fish to show for it." The wedding day, the Battle of the Mothers. The wedding was held at a grand marquee in Victoria Island. It was a kaleidoscope of champagne gold, Yoruba, and burnt orange, Igbo. Scene 1. The entrance of the mothers. The mother of the groom and mother of the bride didn't just walk in, they performed a theatrical takeover. Mummy Shegan, she arrived with a troupe of talking drummers. Her ero and bubba was made of hand-woven aso-oke so stiff it could stand on its own. Every time she danced, she sprayed 1,000 naira notes on the floor with a rhythmic flick of the wrist, her eyes fixed on Mama Amaka as if to say, "See how we do it in the West." Mama Amaka, not to be outdone, she entered to the thunderous sound of Ojin music. She wore a double-wrapped George fabric heavy with gold embroidery. She didn't just spray money, she had a money gun, the Lagos way, and was flanked by 6 women from her August meeting group, all chanting her praises in Igbo. Scene 2. The sisters show off. The sisters, Shegan's 3 sisters, the Yoruba demons, in female form, and Amaka's 2 sisters, the Igbo Barbies, engaged in a silent war of aesthetics. The Yoruba sisters, they wore the most aggressive geles ever seen in Nigeria, sharp, multi-layered, and tilted at a 45-degree angle that defied gravity. They moved in a synchronized step every time the DJ played a King Sunny Addy track, making sure the gold jewelry jingled loudly. The Igbo sisters, they opted for the luxury look. Their lace was sheer, their makeup was soft glam, by the most expensive artist in Lekki, and they made sure to loudly discuss their recent shopping trips to Dubai and London within earshot of Shegan's sisters. The final union, settle out of court. As the night wound down, the settlement finally happened. During the wine-carrying ceremony, Igba NKWU, Shegan had to find Amaka in the crowd. When he finally did, he didn't just take the cup, he knelt, a Yoruba gesture of ultimate respect, before her Igbo father. The room went silent. Mummy Shegan nodded in approval of her son's humility. Mama Amaka wiped a tear, realizing that Shegan wasn't just a Yoruba boy, but a man who respected their roots. "Doctor," Amaka whispered as they danced to a mashup of Flavor and Davido, "I think we just won the biggest case of our lives." "Counselor," Shegan replied, pulling her closer, "I think we've reached a permanent settlement." The honeymoon phase in their Ikoyi apartment didn't just fade, it hit a wall of festive expectations. It was December 20th, and the Lagos Christmas energy was peaking, hustle in the markets, hampers in the hallway, and a tension in the air that no amount of medical precision or legal jargon could fix. The argument didn't start with a shout. It started with a calendar. The spark, the home dilemma. Shegan was in his scrubs, just back from a double shift, while Amaka was highlighted deep in a contract review. "Shegan, baby, my mom called. She's already bought the cow for the Christmas Day feast in Ondo. She's expecting us by the 23rd. I told her we'd be there. Amaka, freezing, pen mid-air. You told her what? Shegan, my father has already announced to the entire village in Anambra that his Dr. son-in-law is coming for the homecoming. It's the first Christmas since the wedding. If I'm not in the East, it's a scandal. The escalation, medical logic versus legal precedent. The living room became a courtroom, and the stakes were higher than any malpractice suit. Amaka's opening statement. Shegan, you don't understand Igbo culture. The first Christmas is a statement. My kinsmen need to see that I married a man who respects my roots. If I go to Ondo, my mother will spend the whole of January explaining to the August meeting why her daughter was captured by the Yorubas. Shegan's rebuttal. Captured. Amaka, be fair. My mother is the one who took you in like a daughter when her own sisters were skeptical. She's been planning this Odin since July. And logically, Ondo is a 5-hour drive. We can't spend 3 days in a car trekking to the east with the fuel prices and the traffic at all. It's medically draining. The heat. Oh, so now it's a medical decision. Amaka stood up, her voice rising. You didn't consult your co-counsel. You made an executive decision like I'm one of your junior residents. This is a marriage, not a hospital ward. And this isn't a deposition. Shegan fired back. Stop cross-examining me. I'm tired, I'm hungry, and I just want to spend Christmas where there's decent Ayan and a mother who doesn't treat me like a bank account. The silence that followed was heavy. The bank account comment was a low blow, a jab at the heavy bride price Shegan had paid, and they both knew it. Amaka walked into the bedroom and slammed the door. The Cold War and the compromise. For 2 days, the apartment was a no-fly zone. Shegan slept on the sofa, which was medically bad for his back, and Amaka cooked only enough jollof for one. But then, Shegan saw the homecoming flyer Amaka's brother had sent her on WhatsApp. He saw her face in the photo. She looked so proud. He realized it wasn't about the village. It was about her identity. Simultaneously, Amaka looked at the photos of Shegan's aging mother. She remembered the woman's kindness during the wedding preparations. The settlement out of court, version 2.0. Shegan knocked on the bedroom door with a peace offering, a hot bowl of NKWOB he'd ordered from a top-tier Igbo restaurant. Shegan, I'm sorry about the bank account comment. It was the fatigue talking. You're worth every kobo and more. Amaka, opening the door, eyes softened, and I'm sorry for calling you a dictator. I know you're exhausted. The terms of the agreement. December 23-26th, they would go to Ondo. Shegan promised to help his mother with the feast, and Amaka agreed to wear the full Yoruba traditional attire and kneel until her knees gave out. December 27th, January 2nd, they would fly to Enugu and drive to the village. Shegan would endure the endless Mazi greetings and drink enough palm wine to forget he was a doctor. The penalty clause, whoever complained about the heat or the in-laws first had to pay for a luxury spa weekend in Dubai in February. The aftermath as they packed their bags into the SUV, the trunk was a chaotic mix of Yoruba, Aso Oke and Igbo George fabric. You know, Amaka said, leaning against the car, our kids are going to be very confused during the holidays. Shegan laughed, cranking the engine. Confused? No, they're going to be the most well-fed children in Nigeria. Now, get in the car, counselor. We have a cow to go meet in Ondo. The nursery in their new Ikoyi duplex was a battlefield of blue and white, but the real war was being waged in the living room over a leather-bound notebook. 3 years into their marriage, Shegan and Amaka had welcomed a bouncing baby boy, a child who possessed Shegan's calm eyes and Amaka's defiant chin. The naming ceremony was scheduled for the 8th day, and the diplomatic crisis had reached a breaking point. The pre-ceremony deadlock. In Nigerian tradition, the 8th day is sacred, but for a Yoruba-Igbo power couple, it was a logistical nightmare. Shegan's position, Amaka, he is the first grandson of the Adebayo lineage. My father has already prepared the honey, salt, and water for the Yoruba rites. His name must be Babajide, father has returned. It's a sign of continuity, Amaka's counter-motion, and he is the first, Obi, heart of the Akeke family. My father has already bought the largest kola nut in Anambra. His name is Ifanyachukwu. Nothing is impossible with God. If a Yoruba name comes first on the birth certificate, my aunties will say I've been brainwashed by Lagos living. The argument escalated until Shegun, ever the surgeon, tried to use logic. Biologically, he carries the Adebayo surname. It's only symmetrical if the first name matches the origin of the last name. Amaka, the lawyer, didn't blink. Legally, I spent 9 months as the primary landlord of this child. I believe the tenant should have a say in the branding. Afeni comes first, or we are heading back to mediation. The ceremony, a clash of titans. On the morning of the ceremony, the house was packed. The scent of afada rice competed with the aroma of oha soup. The Yoruba mourning phase. Mummy Shegun and the Yoruba elders took the floor first. They insisted on the traditional tasting of elements. Honey, for a sweet life. Ara, dried fish, for resilience. Water, because water has no enemy. As the eldest Adebayo patriarch leaned in to whisper, Oluwasegun, God has one, into the baby's ear, Mama Amaka cleared her throat so loudly it vibrated the chandeliers. The Igbo midday takeover. The Igbo contingent, led by Amaka's father, Ike Akeke, stood up with a staff of authority. They didn't wait for an invitation. In our place, Ike declared, a child is a communal joy, but he must be anchored to the soil of his mother's fathers. He broke the kola nut with a flourish, spraying a bit of palm wine on the floor, much to the horror of Shegun's clean freak sisters. He announced the name, Kamsiochukwu, as I asked of God, with such volume that the baby started crying. The out-of-court resolution. The tension was thick enough to cut with a surgical scalpel. The mothers-in-law were trading side eyes that could start a fire. Shegun and Amaka looked at each other. They realized that if they didn't take control, their son would have 14 names before lunchtime. Shegun stood up, holding the baby. He signaled the drummer to stop. The pronouncement. Families, listen. We are one. This child is a bridge. On his birth certificate, his name will be Oluwakamsiochukwu Adebayo. The room went silent. Amaka added, it means, as I asked of God, he won. It's a fusion. One name, 2 languages, 1 meaning. In Lagos, we'll call him Kamsi. In the West, you can call him Alua. In the East, he is the Prince of Anambra. The show-off finale. Once the legal naming was settled, the party turned into a competitive display of wealth. The spraying, the Yoruba sisters started a money rain that literally covered the baby's mosses basket. The souvenirs, the Igbo sisters responded by handing out customized power banks and designer hampers to every guest, making the Yoruba side's customized plastic bowls look like a school project. The dance-off, the DJ played a high life track, and for the first time, Mummy Shegun and Mama Amaka were forced to dance together. They circled each other like 2 lionesses, each trying to out-shuffle the other, eventually ending in a sweaty, laughing embrace. The aftermath, the new normal that night, as Shegun changed a diaper, with surgical precision, and Amaka filed away the new gift receipts. They looked at their sleeping son. He survived his first Nigerian family meeting, Shegun whispered. The rest of his life will be easy. Amaka laughed, leaning her head on his shoulder. Don't be too sure, doctor. Wait until we have to decide which secondary school he goes to, the one in the West or the one in the East. Shegun sighed. I think I'll just go back to the hospital. It's quieter there. 20 years have passed, and the Lagos skyline has grown as tall as the expectations in the Adebayo Akeke household. Shegun is now a medical director, his hair dusted with a distinguished silver, and Amaka is a senior advocate of Nigeria SAN, her courtroom gaze sharper than ever. They had finally achieved a hard-won peace between the Yoruba and Igbo sides of the family. But as the saying goes, Lagos will always show you shege. The frenzy began with a Sunday lunch that was supposed to be a simple celebration of Kamsi's graduation from engineering school. The arrival, the northern wind. The house was already a beehive. Mummy Shegan, now a great-grandmother in spirit, and Mama Amaka were seated in the parlor like two rival queens on a chessboard. They had finally bonded over their shared love for expensive lace and criticizing their children's parenting. Then, Kamsi walked in. Beside him was a girl whose beauty was as striking as her poise. She was draped in a stunning, minimalist abaya with a veil pinned elegantly, her hands intricately decorated with henna, lal. Kamsi, Dad, Mom, Grandma, NNE. I want you to meet Zainab. She's an architect from Kaduna. And, well, I've asked her to marry me. The silence that followed was so heavy it could have been measured in tons. The initial reaction, a multi-tribal meltdown. The Yoruba-Igbo alliance, that Shegan and Amaka had spent 2 decades building suddenly shifted. The Yoruba side, Mummy Shegan. Kaduna, Ewo, Kamsi, my son, do you know how far that is? How will we carry the tubers of yam across the Niger and into the north? And the language. I have just mastered, Bia, and, NNA, now you want me to learn, Inakwana. The Igbo side, Mama Amaka. Hey, Kamsi, you want to bring a girl who will make us eat tuwo instead of oha soup. Where is her homecoming? Does she have an August meeting? Shegan, Amaka, look at your son. We fought the battle of the tribes for him to be a bridge, not to build a whole new expressway to the north. The confrontation, the professional intervention. Shegan and Amaka looked at each other. They saw their own history repeating itself, but with a new geographical twist. Amaka, the san, she stepped forward, her silk wrapper rustling. Mom, Mummy, please. Let us be civil. We are not in the 1960s. Zainab, please sit. Let's discuss the jurisdiction of this relationship. Shegan, the doctor, everyone, breathe. My blood pressure monitor is in the car, and I don't want to use it on any of you. Kamsi is an adult. The show-off reversal. As the evening progressed, Zainab did something the mothers didn't expect. She opened a small, exquisite bag and presented gifts. For Mummy Shegan, a hand-woven silk veil from the finest artisans in Kano, softer than any aso-oke. For Mama Amaka, a set of pure gold jewelry from the old markets of Zaria, heavier and more intricate than anything seen at a Lagos wedding. The sisters, Kamsi's aunts, began to whisper. The gold is real, one whispered. And the embroidery on that abaya, that is luxury, the other replied. The competitive spirit of the Adebayo Akeke women began to pivot from rejection to, how can we make this the biggest northern-southern wedding in the history of Nigeria? The settlement, version 3.0. Late that night, after the elders had retired to debate the logistics of a destination wedding in Kaduna, Kamsi found his parents on the balcony. I thought you guys would be the ones to support me easily, Kamsi said, leaning on the railing. Amaka laughed, leaning her head on Shegan's shoulder. Oh, we do support you, Kamsi. But you have to understand, your grandmothers live for the drama. It's their sport. Shegan patted his son's back.